Hi, everyone. It is the 5th of April. April. I had to think. Are we in April? We're in April. And if you celebrate Easter, I hope you had a nice day. And if you don't, I hope you all have had a nice day. Hello. Uh, is this Michael Wilson? It looks like Michaela Wilson. Hi. Hi. Justin Wynn. Hi. Oh, safe. What does safe mean anymore, Justin? I don't know. Andrew Cruz and Angelos and Chrissy, hello. And here for the ride only. I do like that username. Here for the ride only. Man, woof, what a ride. Kathleen, hi. I did thank, but when I don't see somebody in the chat, well, I thank you, Kathleen. I never want to expose, anything. So thank you. Mojo Shop, Jane Northrup, Silent Walk, The Watchman. Hi, Patricia White. All right, so yeah. Wow, it's just, you have to take a lot of deep breaths and do some slow exhales to get through. To just get through. So here we have radar. They pushed this whole thing right out to the Atlantic. Funny, huh? Well, it's not funny, but this whole line of a weather front was from South Texas all the way into Canada, and they're just pushing it right on out to the Atlantic. It never stopped. All right, so there are no, this just came in. I wonder if it's special marine warning. Northwestern Puerto Rico. Okay, you guys in Puerto Rico, be careful. And weather-wise, all of the links are in the chat. You got your red flag warnings, Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas. Frost advisory, Kentucky. I thought it was kind of warm there, but yeah, forget about it. It was going down at night and early morning to 70 degrees. Last night it went down to 40. All right, so frost advisory. Well, yeah, of course. Freeze watch in Indiana and Illinois, and frost advisory for Ohio, and a lot of little, lakes and rivers and streams and creeks. You got them, the flood warnings or flood watches. You got them in Ohio and Michigan and Wisconsin and New York and down into Illinois and Indiana and Iowa. Okay, be careful. And lake wind advisory, high wind watches in Montana, and you got a fire weather watch in New Mexico. All of the links to these sites are in the chat. So we will just plow right ahead. Was it disgrace now saying someone from his office done it? I am wondering if that... Are you talking about our fabulous Trump? All right. This was the busiest day here that I've ever lived. It's Easter, so I didn't live here last Easter. So I guess a lot of families are getting together and celebrating Easter. And it was like, wow, there are people. Normally, dead, silent, weird. kind of like, where are the people? Actually, when I got the tornado siren going, that was the first time I thought, wow, people do live in those homes, because everybody was out. I guess that's not what you're supposed to be doing when you hear a tornado siren, but that's what we all did. All right, let's do it. We've got so much. This country, I'm sorry to say, Americans, but we all live in a psychiatric institution. You know that? We really do. It's true. So now, Michigan. That's why I say, you guys, if you're around any of these flood watches, weather-wise, I'll post it again. The link is in the chat. You have to be very careful. These little blips of green, those are all flood watches. Why do you have to pay attention? Well, because this is Michigan. Michigan.
Once again, this is at Quaker.
Where did that come from? The heavy rain?
Hours of steady, sometimes heavy rain overnight into Saturday morning flooded roads and front yards across the Lansing region on Saturday, turning the first weekend of April into a mess for drivers and prompting river flood warnings that could last into next week.
Into next week.
The guy on top. Unbelievable. It's getting bad.
The National Weather Service reported 1 to 3 inches of rain in parts of the Grand and Kalamazoo River basins since Friday, enough to overwhelm storm drains and low-lying areas in Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton counties. By mid-morning, flooding forced the closure of key routes in and around Lansing. Michigan State Police said all southbound lanes near Vermontville Highway in Eaton County were flooded and impassable, and urged people to stay off the roads if they didn't need to travel.
It's truly
because of standing water, according to the Michigan Department of Transportation. In Lansing, I-496 flooded between Waverly Road and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and city officials warned of many streets flooded throughout Lansing.
All right, I'm going to post the link if any of you want to watch the entirety. Click on the link. I'm sorry. Adults in our country and all over the world really need to check out weather modification and consider that all of this flooding that's bringing an awful lot of suffering to an awful lot of people may be deliberate. Those oh my God, overwhelmed. We've had thunderstorms before, right? With a whole lot of rain coming down. Never have we seen anything like we see pretty much all the time now. That needs to be questioned. No, I'm sorry, it's not climate change. All right, Van Buren Township. Well, this is Michigan.
The damage is significant in some spots. We have team coverage tonight as the cleanup begins. Christina will break down just how powerful these storms were.
But we begin with our Kyla Russell, live in one of the hardest hit areas, Van Buren Township, where crews are clearing the streets. Kyla, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I can tell you what I'm seeing. I'm standing right in front of a barn here in Van Buren Township that earlier today was fully intact, but now you can see entirely through it. The debris completely lining this area of the yard. Now, it all started just before 6 o'clock when Rob and his girlfriend looked through the window to see this.
When we saw it, just after the high rains, we saw it twirling right here and the trees swinging all the way around. We ducked into the center of the house to get away if anything was collapsed.
A regular Saturday, Rob and his girlfriend had just gotten home from celebrating Easter.
Just put food away, and the rain hit, and the power flashed off and on. And just as soon as we saw the hard rain, we saw high winds just peeking out the window. And all of a sudden, when we saw the funnel spinning, I'm like, let's go.
The barn is used for hosting for the most part, and you see it here, made for memories with a bar and couches.
This is our entertainment place inside.
Good memories.
Yeah, entertainment, workshop.
Yeah.
We were just hosting my family and my mom and dad's inside. Their 60th wedding anniversary is coming up April 30th. We were having a party here on May 3rd.
There's some.
Oh, all right. Well, prune your trees, get rid of your trees if you can, if they're near your home. 6.4 earthquake. No, I'm sorry, 4.6. 4.6. It was in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Isn't that pretty strong for you guys in California? Well, it looks pretty strong.
The strongest earthquake in the last 35 years occurred in the Santa Cruz Mountains in California, United States.
Wow.
Early Thursday morning, residents felt a powerful tremor with a magnitude of 4.6. This earthquake was the strongest since the Loma Prieta disaster in 1989.
That would kind of
The
freak
US
me out.
Geological Survey confirmed the uniqueness of the event for the region.
Unique?
Local residents described an unusual sensation, a long, rolling shaking of the ground. No aftershocks were recorded after the initial shock.
And what was the depth?
However, experts warn of the risk of stronger tremors following earthquakes of this magnitude.
What was the depth? You know, we have so many frequencies just being emitted all over the world. Well, how about Pakistan? Sometimes I think countries are being punished by our fabulous country. 6.1.
On Friday evening, Pakistan felt a sudden, powerful jolt. A magnitude 6.1 earthquake struck deep underground at a depth of approximately 190 kilometers. The rumble reverberated through Islamabad, Rawalpindi, and even reached Multan. The epicenter was in the remote Hindu Kush region of Afghanistan. The tremors were felt by residents of Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and the Northern Territories.
Afghanistan and Pakistan. Well, they started warring again. Maybe Trump is pissed off. Hey, that was one of the wars that I solved. You're no longer warring. You're at peace. Where's that Nobel Prize? Fire at former chemical manufacturer in Paterson, New Jersey.
Fire officials are looking into what caused an explosive fire at a former chemical manufacturer in Paterson. Several cars were destroyed, and gas and power had to be cut to nearby homes. Christy Kalishian has the latest from officials and residents who were forced to evacuate.
I think we're gonna have to get out. There's people coming at the houses.
It was just about bedtime for the Pacheco family on Piercy Street at around 11 Friday night. Their cameras picking up the start of a fast-growing fire across the street.
I felt the heat, and I fell outside looking kind of weird, so I came outside, and that's when I saw the flame.
The EPA says the site used to house Galaxy Chemical Corp until it was abandoned around 2006. The agency classifies it as a Superfund site, meaning the area may be contaminated with hazardous materials. Officials say no chemicals were found at the site at the time of the fire.
We don't have any power right now, and we don't have any gas.
Nearby homes like Saudi Morel's weren't damaged, but several cars were, including his niece's, as crews battled gas-fueled flames with limited water sources. Patterson Fire Department's Deputy Chief Mike Cleanfoot reports there were no injuries.
So we had free-burning gas in 2 places that was inhibiting us from actually extinguishing the fire.
There is still a strong chemical smell near the building and in some of the surrounding area, but the deputy chief says environmental officials deem the air safe to breathe.
And you can trust your officials. You can trust all government officials. They would never lie to you. Please share this. Trump and his administration are starving blind seniors to death. Yeah, well, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, blind seniors. All right. Yeah. Our fabulous, cold, uncaring country.
I had my annual physical yesterday. I'm 65 years old. I'm legally blind. I'm on disability. I went to my doc and I lost 28 pounds in the last year. I did not need to lose 28 pounds. I did not try to lose 28 pounds. I lost the 28 pounds because I cannot afford to eat anymore. Under Biden, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
This one doesn't seem very empathetic, responsive. Nothing, really? Nothing you're going to say to this woman? Oh, she's crying. She apologizes. Nothing, not even an expression that you care somewhat. Nothing.
Under Biden, I was able to put $100 a month away for food, along with my SNAP, and I did okay. I could get fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and meat. It is just me. But now, with grocery prices so high, propane, electricity out of this world, I now only allow myself $65 a month for food.
Sharon, are you on SNAP benefits?
Let me tell you, under Joe Biden, I received $80 a month for SNAP. That was taken away from me under Donald Trump. He took it away. He gave me $24 a month. I did receive.
I just want to say I apologize for the music. I don't know why people put this music in that's blasting during, this interview. Yeah. But just listen to what she's saying.
That for a couple of months, then he took it down to $12.50 a month. I said, screw you. So I'm not doing that no more. So now I get $65 a month, Mimi. And for them people out there, all these Republicans that are doing so flippin' well right now, I have 3 potatoes. I have a half a tomato. I have 3 bananas, 1 apple, 1 can of soup, a half a loaf of bread, 1 egg, and 1 can of green beans. I do not get paid until the 3rd. I am disability blind. I cannot drive a car. I'm 15 miles out of town, so I am not able to just trot my butt down to the food shelf. I used to volunteer at the food shelf. I can't even do that anymore. I don't understand. I'd like somebody to explain to me, why is it always the poor people that are helping the poor people? I don't understand. But what I want to say, Mimi, is that it's really close to coming, like that man said, the end is coming near, and it can't be any more true for me.
Yeah. You think she's the only one? Millions. Oh, but Trump wants $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon. And he thinks that Medicare, Medicaid, and daycare, and, those social programs that help people out, he said, they're scams. They're scams. I think Americans, you need to feel something. You need to understand that we need to unite. The real threat from the Iran war is hitting farmers, not fuel pumps, especially for us here in the United States. The global fertilizer supply chain, it's getting hit, and it will impact hundreds of millions of Americans who depend on the food that comes out of the ground each fall. The fertilizer, you need to pay attention. Natural gas is not just a fuel. It is a primary feedstock for synthetic nitrogen fertilizers through a process developed over a century ago. Natural gas goes in, ammonia comes out, ammonia becomes urea, urea gets spread on cornfields in Iowa and wheat fields in Kansas, rice paddies in Asia. About 80% of nitrogen fertilizer production costs are attributable to natural gas. When the Strait of Hormuz is practically shuttered, you do not just block oil tankers and LNG carriers, you block the ships carrying urea and ammonia that the world's farmers were expecting to receive this spring. Urea prices at the New Orleans import hub jumped more than 30% in the first week of the war. Do you think American farmers can pay that kind of price? And by late March, it had risen 77% from December 2025. That's almost double. Spring is the season when the largest volumes of fertilizer move into the country, and our fabulous Agriculture Secretary Rollins acknowledged that approximately 25% of American farmers had not yet purchased fertilizer for the planting season. So, what happens? If they don't have any input, they don't have any output. American Farm Bureau wrote to Trump calling for relief, but it's a scam, you farmers. The only thing that's important is giving trillions of dollars to the Pentagon. And to hell with Americans who might need some food, and unfortunately everything is, genetically modified and filled with glyphosate and other pesticides and herbicides, and it's poison, but it's the only thing we have. Get ready, man. Things are going to get really bad. So, dramatic property tax hike. Okay, this is a scam. And I really hope that you look into if your property taxes are doubled or tripled, and yet nothing has changed, that your government is just wanting more money from you.
A Morgan Park family is still in shock after a staggering 300% spike in their latest property tax bill. CBS News Chicago investigator Megan DeMar is digging into what went wrong and how the county can prevent things like this, these life-altering errors in the future.
It completely takes away the stability of your budgeting and your ability to plan economically for the future.
Robert Castle and his daughter Whitney explain their concerns for the future on the stoop of their 114-year-old Morgan Park home they've owned for more than 40 years. They were expecting a bump to their nearly $7,000 property tax bill, but instead it jumped to nearly $24,000 in a single cycle.
I thought it was absolutely insane. How could you go up 300%? Certainly an increase like that was just incredibly shocking.
We checked. There have been no renovations, no additions, no transfer of ownership or changes to the property at all. Two neighboring homes, both with no recent improvements or sales in over a decade, also received dramatic increases, although not quite as bad as theirs.
It turns your budgeting upside down. And the thing you worry about as well is if it can happen to me this year, what's to prevent it from happening again in years to come?
I was the one that reached out to CBS because of just this. People have to know that this is what's going on.
We reached out to the Cook County Assessor's Office about this case. We never got a response.
Now, the taxpayer is stuck with this outrageous bill that obviously doesn't match reality.
But we did get a response from Lyons Township Assessor Pat Hines, who is poised to become the next Cook County Assessor after defeating Fritz Kagi in last month's primary.
What happened to this couple and what's happened across the city is unacceptable.
Hines said he dealt with a series of land assessment errors in Lyons Township back in 2024. Similarly, he said the Morgan Park properties we sent him seem to have huge spikes in the land value portion of their assessments.
This is insane. I wish that people would just band together in their communities and just say, no, we're not paying this. This is insane. We're not paying it. And yeah, get rid of these people in government because they are so screwing virtually everybody. It's it has already put people out on the street without a home, these property taxes. Oh, let's look at well, I should post this link. You should bookmark it and maybe take a look at it every month. The Eviction Lab that tracks all evictions in the country. There's a lot of them, okay? There's a whole lot of them. Evictions over the past 12 months, 1,169,451. In the past month, 77,139. What are these people going to do? You can click on the link. You can check out your area. New Mexico, filings over the past year, 7,701. Florida, man, you've got a lot of them. Close to 12,000 in Tampa. West Palm Beach, close to 8,000. You got Gainesville, 2,263. Miami, close to 16,000. Okay, so when you get to see these numbers, you understand that there's not, whatever they claim, I think it's 600,000 now or 700,000 homeless? No, much more. And that number actually stayed at 500,000 for like 2 decades. So you look at this filing counts, just the filing, not the eviction. Connecticut, 17,236. You got Indiana, close to 70,000 filed for eviction. Missouri, you got 44,148. Pennsylvania, 108,224. You got Virginia, 136,379. Atlanta, 143,714. All right, well, you know it. And so many of these, are facing really extreme rent hikes, and they can't afford it. But give me 1.5 trillion for our Pentagon. Georgia lawmakers passed a bill that lets property owners file claims over homelessness and immigration. Wow. Criminalize homelessness. Georgia lawmakers passed a bill early Friday that would allow property owners to file claims against local governments if the individual believes policies that ban people from sleeping outside. Oh, well, that's what the homeless do, and require law enforcement to cooperate with federal immigration authorities were not enforced. Individuals will be able to demand compensation from local governments amounting to alleged lost property value or expenses incurred because of failure to enforce policies such as bans on public camping, loitering, panhandling, and bans on sanctuary policies, limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities. I guess, if it's a loss of property value, then you're going to have places in Georgia that look like Portland, Seattle, a whole lot of those areas that I think most people know that are just consumed, by homeless. But all of this is really, it lends itself to hostility. Show hostility for the homeless instead of care. Get rid of them. Those utility companies always going to the state legislatures to ask for permission to raise rate hikes, and somehow they always get permission to do that. So now Wisconsin Public Service is wanting $500 million in rate increases. What do you get for these increases? Nothing, pretty much nothing. Property taxes, that daughter and father paying nearly $25,000. What did they get for it? Nothing. You don't get anything for it. That should piss people off.
The largest utility company is now asking the State Public Service Commission for a major rate increase for its two energy providers.
We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service say that increase would happen over the next 2 years, impacting customers statewide. Victoria Frazier finds out how it could affect your monthly bill.
Well, it will affect your monthly bill. I have no doubt that they will get permission to, do those rate increases. Maybe it won't be 500 million, maybe it'll be 4. I don't know, but this is what they do. And meanwhile, your electricity bills are going up on a monthly basis. And the Czech government, imposes fuel price cap and cuts diesel tax to combat surging costs. The Prime Minister said the state will begin setting daily maximum fuel prices while limiting retailer margins, because they looked into those margins and saw the retailers are making a fortune. Okay. A government that is actually doing something for the people. And yes, wouldn't you love to have a free market? But we don't have free markets anywhere. The intervention follows concerns that fuel retailers were charging excessive margins. So the Ministry of Finance will determine a maximum fuel price each day, applying to all gas stations nationwide. We monitor the margins, and at the beginning of the conflict, they were within the norm, but gradually they became excessive. So we decided to intervene. It kind of, everything that's happening, it throws, it's like wealth, freedom, free markets. It's just not possible. So I think that this is good. Vehicle plows through Lao New Year parade in Louisiana, rural Louisiana. Okay, yeah. There's no audio. Several people injured.
It was a lot of people hurt. I saw a lot of people hurt and blood everywhere. It was bad.
One of the people, they got hit by the car with my auntie.
What is it with people plowing into parades? I don't remember that for the first couple of decades of my life. Now it seems to be just a happening thing. Absolutely insane. A concerned resident in Illinois tries to voice her concerns about a data center. Joliet, Illinois, Councilman Pat Mudron immediately shuts her down, saying that she can't comment on that. And she said, I'm going to comment on it anyway. You have officially sold out every single resident because these residents said no. And what did the council say? Yes. They don't listen to us. Get it? Got it? Good.
All right. Good evening, Joliet City Council. I am deeply saddened by your decision to vote yes to the proposed data center. My name is Tia, by the way.
You can't comment on it, ma'am.
I'm commenting on it anyway. You have officially sold out every single citizen in Joliet. You chose corporate interests over the livelihood of the very people who voted you into your position. You chose money over the future of our children. They can still hear me. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Just know that everyone is going to remember each one of you that voted yes on this, who you don't want to hear. Okay. We're very disappointed.
Thank you for your comments.
And you should have let me speak, but that's okay.
Some people have a lot of courage. All right, I'm just going to play a few minutes of this. Everything is just collapsing. Everything's just coming on down. Sorry to say, but everything is happening very fast, really fast. AI bubble. Okay. And I have recommended World Affairs in Context before. So the link is in the chat. And she provides very good information.
The biggest tech companies in the world are pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into artificial intelligence, racing to build huge data centers as fast as they can. They see AI as the future, of course, and they don't want to fall behind. Nobody wants to miss out. But despite all that money and urgency, nearly half of these data centers might never get built. On top of that, the AI bubble appears to be on the verge of popping. We talked about valuations before in my previous videos. Now, the reason is not a lack of demand or funding, of course. It is much simpler and more surprising. They don't have enough electricity, and they can't get the basic equipment that is needed to power these facilities. That's where the real problem begins. Right now, the US is in the middle of a massive AI build-out. Companies are planning data centers that would add around 16 gigawatts of capacity by the end of 2026. But only a small portion of that is actually being built. Experts say between 30 and 50% of these projects are being delayed or canceled. Now, there are many issues related to this, and I will go into further detail in an article that I'm writing and that I will publish on my Substack and Patreon. But the first big issue is power. AI data centers use huge amounts of electricity, far more than older facilities. Some are so large that they use as much power as an entire city. One project in Texas, for example, will need about the same electricity as nearly 1 million homes. Now, imagine dozens of these being built at the same exact time. The power grid just isn't ready for that. It is not.
Wait a second. Didn't Trump say when he was in office for about a week, and he made that big announcement, and oh, so much money is coming to our country through, these AI firms. But he said that they would be building their own electricity grid. I guess they just didn't. It's one of the reasons why your electricity bill continues to skyrocket. Water? Oh, you have a problem with your wells? It's now poison. And thank your data centers. All right, so I'm putting the link again in the chat. The bubble is going to burst, but we've got so many bubbles. Yeah, I've seen, and I didn't include it because I can't verify it, but Russia has Kafka, the Kafka days, yeah. Russia has now made an announcement that those who are buying oil or gas from Russia need to pay in either rubles or yuan to those European countries. That petrodollar, are you waving slowly? It's kind of like you can still see it in the distance, but it's going away. And that, for us, means hell. All things will break loose. CEO of the Institute for Sustainability Leadership, Lindsay Hooper, claims that water and soil and oxygen should not be do you ever get like this? Words that you've said before you can, and it's like something happens in your brain. There's a complete block. Infinitely accessible. It shouldn't be. They should be assets. Placing them on a global balance sheet. So assets, we will pay for air that we breathe and the soil and the water and everything. Yeah. Aren't these people wonderful?
When we talk about capital, we tend to think only about financial capital, about cash, financial assets, but we know that's not the only value on which our economies depend. We know that every aspect of every part of the economy is fundamentally dependent on nature, as you highlighted. The air that we breathe, the water we drink, the soil, the oceans that we need for the food that we need to consume, the minerals that we need as inputs to technology and to infrastructure. And without these forms of value, these forms of natural capital, we won't have economies. They are the fundamental building blocks of our economies. But the ways, as you said, the ways in which we have grown our economies, our models of economic development, have been incredibly successful for global.
For whom? They've been incredibly successful. For whom? Okay. So I'm listening. The first 30 seconds, I hear F you go off in my brain. Any of you, kind of, have that response to things that you hear? I'll post the link. You can listen to the full 3 minutes, but it's all in the works. It's all coming at us. And I don't know, I gave up on, trying to keep my data private because I know that we just can't. But LinkedIn secretly scans for 6,000 plus Chrome extensions and collects data. Are there really that many extensions on Chrome? 6,000? Just know that all of your data is being collected is being sold, is being stored. And we all have a profile. That is the world that we're living in now. So the Department of Homeland Security is buying up an awful lot of a whole lot of different weapons. Oh, they have 50 million. Customs and Border Protection spending 50 million on less lethal specialty munitions. You know, those munitions that only hurt, less lethal. They can be lethal. What's going on? What are they thinking that they need all of these munitions? The agency is looking for a vendor who can supply vast quantities of 123 different types of munitions across 10 different categories. The sheer quantity and the myriad different weapons is the most remarkable thing. This is Rohini Har, an emergency physician and researcher of less lethal ordnance. Okay. When there's so many different kinds, it makes you question tactically, what's the goal here? What's the goal? Maybe to put down a whole lot of riots? So Har questioned whether the Department of Homeland Security will be able to suitably train federal agents to use all of these weapons. What are the, some of them handheld grenades. Okay. 2 common types of tear gas, and I didn't know this. One is a chemical weapon previously used by the US in Vietnam, but now banned for military use, and yet they're using it on protesters. I would think that if it's banned for military use, it might be banned for your ordinary law enforcement to be, thrown at protesters on the street. Customs and Border Patrol agents already regularly use CS, which is the one banned from military use. So what are they expecting? Oh, I think they're expecting an uprising that they want to put down with weapons. Mexico just killed cash. This is when I ask for translation from any subscriber who knows Spanish.
Nuestro objetivo es que este año,
even though there's subtitles, I still want to make sure that the subtitles are right, because I'm not happy about this. Mexico just killed cash. Mexican cartel president Sheinbaum just announced no more cash at gas stations or toll booths. Digital payments are mandatory by the end of 2026.
a través de los esquemas que trabajemos con la banca, hagamos obligatorio el pago
that we work with the bank, we make mandatory
de las gasolinas y de las
the payment of gasoline and gas stations digitally.
A través de manera digital. Esto va a permitir potenciar los pagos digitales accesibles.
We want to make accessible digital payments, which will enable us to advance
nos permitan avanzar en la digitalización del país.
In digitizing the country. All right. Not good. Okay, this is the crazy, really crazy part. Oh man, white cane. You know which white cane we're talking about, Paula. Many people don't know about the upbringing of President Trump. Well, the subtitles were correct. I wish they weren't. I wish she was saying the exact opposite. All right, so a whole lot has been written about Trump's upbringing. Funny how what Paula is saying was never mentioned until now.
Oh, Laura, as you said, this is probably my favorite subject to talk about.
Oh.
First off, to give honor to God and to President Trump for being bold and unwavering with his faith. Many people don't know, like you do, and say hello to Eric and everyone in the family about the upbringing of President Trump, that he went to sometimes 3 times a week to, he said it depended on the teacher, to Saturday school, Sunday school, church. It was at Norman Vincent Peale's. Church was a big part of his life, of course. Oh, Laura, as you said, this is probably my favorite subject.
But I guess it didn't do any good. Nothing rubbed off on Trump in terms of like having a moral core. It did nothing good. But I think it's bullshit. And here, Trump, when we go in church and I drink my little wine and have my little cracker, I guess that's a form of asking for forgiveness. Canada hates Trump. This effing idiot expects us to believe he goes to church. But that's a Catholic church. So he goes to Catholic church?
When we go in church and when I drink my little wine, which is about the only wine I drink, and have my little cracker, I guess that's a form of asking for forgiveness. And I do that as often as possible.
What the hell? It's not a form of asking for forgiveness.
Possible because I feel cleansed. When we go and
Well, I was born Catholic. I went to church a couple of times. I made my first Holy Communion, and that was it. You go to confession. You confess your sins before having that little cracker and a little bit of wine. Ugh. So, excuse me? The Christians do communion too? The Protestants? You do this? The Protestants have wine and wafer crackers? I never knew that. I mean, I've been to Protestant masses and I've never seen that. The Nazarenes. Who are the Nazarenes? Oh, the Pentecostals do it? He's not Pentecostal. I don't think he's Nazarene. All right. Yeah. But it's not a form asking for forgiveness. Okay? A community church would probably do a communion. I never heard of this. They do it once a month? Wow. So, yeah, I guess. But here's a woman that I listened to like the first 45 seconds and I said, I'm playing this. So let's listen to the full video. I don't like the lying and the killing. I don't like it. One would think that we might have a better country, considering how very Christian it is, and we don't. But here, she's very upset with Trump. Doesn't it look like her head, she's like what are those called? You put them in the car, the head wobbles.
The Iranians are telling them, I don't know what's wrong with your president. He must have Alzheimer's because we're not taking any calls. Why should they take any calls? They bombed the Hamas negotiators in August of last year. They bombed Soleimani. Do you know Soleimani in 2020 before COVID started? He was fighting against ISIS. He was a good guy. And Trump bombed him. Do Germans know that? Do Germans know that? And who's ISIS? ISIS is America and Israel's CIA. Do Germans know that? So drop. So drop site news. So drop site news. You can go to drop site. I'm sorry. You can go to drop site news and you can read the fact that Trump is lying. He's making it up as he goes along. This is malignant narcissistic behavior, which is what these people here also have. Malignant narcissist behavior. All of these people who are pro-Israel, okay, who are pro-messianic zealot insanity. Yeah, oh yeah, Hamas, terrorism. All these people have never read a book in their life. They're unintelligent. They're not talented. They have absolutely no morality, no credibility. They're lazy. They're mediocre, and they have low intelligence and low frequency. Keep that in. There is no communication. You can go to Drop Site News, and you can listen to Jeremy Scahill, and he is speaking about the fact that his connections, and he is a high journalist, he's saying,
highly regarded, Jeremy Scahill. I might have Drop Site News, an article open, but I've recommended that you bookmark Drop Site News. Yeah. Keep ISIS going, keep all of those terrorist organizations going, because if you don't, what are these people going to do? Who's the enemy? Oh, Iran. And they're the terrorist state. But we're just angels here. We are so angelic. It's like everybody's just floating, you know. Don't you see them in Washington, D.C., floating, pure? I guess they're all wearing white. Ugh. If church was a press conference. Very good.
And that, folks, is the true meaning of Easter.
Yeah. Let's see.
And that, folks, is the true meaning of Easter. Any questions?
Yes, earlier this week at the White House Easter luncheon, your colleague Paula White compared Donald Trump to Jesus Christ. Care to comment?
The similarities are uncanny.
Are you saying that Jesus would have paid off a porn star in hush money?
No, Jesus was perfect.
Are you saying then that Donald Trump, the twice-divorced billionaire who once bragged about grabbing women by their genitalia, is also perfect?
No, but they both stand for Christian values.
How? Jesus said to love your enemies, and Trump recently said that he hates his, and Jesus said to welcome the immigrant, and Donald Trump is using ICE to terrorize immigrants instead.
Well, it was a different time back then.
Okay, can you just list one way in which Jesus and Trump are similar?
Oh, they both have been arrested and hated by many people.
So was Jeffrey Epstein. Are you saying Epstein is like Jesus too?
No, what? No. That, folks, is the true meaning of Easter. Any questions?
When things get so obvious, that's when it gets so incredibly kind of infuriating and frustrating. And you're like, hello, Paula White, oh my God, just like Jesus. Nothing antithesis of, but whoa, it kind of makes me frightened of the American people who are, I don't know, are they going along with the show? It is. And yes, absolutely 100%. I will tell you, if you don't know the book, People of the Lie, written by Scott Peck. Check it out. Check it out. Malignant narcissism. The evil of that disorder is unlike any other. And the whole book is devoted to malignant narcissism. They have a chapter, he has a chapter, on collective narcissism. That is, I think, it should be mandatory reading for every American. Yes. I will tell you, my mother, severe malignant narcissist, everything that this man is saying is 100% true. Look out, because they will stop at nothing to destroy. Should you be slighted? Should they be slighted? Criticized? If you're their scapegoat, which I am, why do you think I'm living the way I'm living? It's fabulous. It's not. They make your life a living hell. And they love it, by the way. Yes. I guess their destruction of reputation, finance, your everything, gives them a sense of power, like they can't get power in another good way. No. They will stop at nothing. They will kill their own children. They do not care. And look out for, that narcissistic rage. This guy, he's so classic. And it's, you don't want to have someone like this in a powerful position.
In a hell of a lot of trouble. Us, America, but the world is in a hell of a lot of trouble because the most powerful man in the world is both evil and demented. He has the most severe personality disorder, actually, that a human being can have. It's called malignant narcissism. It was originally introduced by Erich Fromm, who escaped the Nazis, to explain the psychology of Hitler and other murderous dictators like him. It's actually not in the DSM. It's kind of a historically obscure diagnosis, but I happen to have studied with the person who was the world expert on malignant narcissism. And so early on, when Trump was running for president in 2015, I recognized that this was essentially a meteor heading towards Earth, because I knew just how destructive a malignant narcissistic leader can be to a country. And I saw it as potentially fatal to our country. And unfortunately, that seems to be potentially coming true. It has four components: narcissism, of course, but also psychopathy, or what we call antisocial personality disorder. So lying, breaking laws and norms, having no remorse for violating the rights of others. Also paranoia, and finally sadism. A lot of what he does is gleefully destructive and harmful. And it actually gives him enormous pleasure to hurt people and to destroy things.
Can you see it? I can see it very clearly. Very clearly. So he's profoundly sick. Anybody supporting him, you are 100% supporting evil. Yay! Good job. Oof. And Christians attend service in Tehran's St. Sarkis Cathedral. Yes, there are Christians in Iran. There are Jews in Iran. Oh, wow. Who knew? It's very low, but Wow, they're in church and Muslims aren't attacking them. All right, okay. And Pete Hegseth, man, he's another disordered. His personality is very disordered. Very. These people have made it very obvious how disordered they are, government is, and that's when Americans should really care, because that disorder comes right to your door, not in a good way.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer.
No. It's just easy, because Trump provides so much ammunition on a daily basis.
You're against Trump because you want him not to be successful so bad. You have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope.
The efficacy of these strikes? Really?
Hope. Maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done?
I think they're probably more concerned about what's happening on a daily basis in terms of, these strikes and who's dying and the destruction. And, well, then they listen to Trump on a daily basis and they're like, whoa, wait, head on a swivel. What the hell is going on? 48 hours. Now it's 82 hours. Giving these timeline to Iran. You better make a deal. Otherwise, well, I'm going to destroy everything. Maybe there's a lot of more interesting things to write about, but are you ever going to give it up? Ever going to give it up? Fake news, and you want to destroy Trump. You want to make sure that he's not successful. Are you ever going to give it up? I guess not. This is what we have to listen to forever. All right. So apparently there was a congressional hearing that, blah, blah, blah. Congress is not doing their job. They collect a paycheck. They have a lot of perks. They enrich their wealth, insider trading. Oh, corporate lobbyists. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll take your money. But they don't work for the American people. They put on shows. That's what congressional hearings are. That's what I've been saying for decades. They never do anything. Well, whatever information they find out during these hearings, they never do anything. Okay, so listen.
How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number, but
You don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them were fired? Like, just explain why was the Army JAG fired? Why did you fire him?
they all serve at the pleasure of the president. And I think
No, I'm just asking you why.
General Kane is a great example.
I'm just asking you why.
That we
And
need
you
at
probably
this
learned
time.
at Princeton what why means. Why did you fire him?
They serve at the pleasure of the president, and we
Why
want better
did you
representation
fire
in
him?
each and every of those.
You can't
each and
explain
every
why
one
you
of those
fired any of
places.
them?
Gentleman's time's expired.
How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I can't answer simple questions. This has been the communication in our country forever, my entire life, only getting worse and worse and worse. Simple question. How many have you fired? Okay, I'll answer it. 8. Why? It's a simple question. Never do they answer it. This should, provide a clue for the American adults to realize we have a problem. We have a problem. They never answer any questions, pointed questions, simple questions, direct questions.
Please describe to me, Mr. Hexeth, you talk about DOD passing an audit. Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or
with the
no?
money
Did
that
you
we
lead
had.
an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or
leadership
no?
has
Did you lead
been
an audit?
stated
Yes or
has
no?
been completely
What are you afraid of? You
mischaracterized.
can't answer this question. Yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator,
Yes
every
or
part
no?
of my leadership
Yes
of these
or no?
organizations
Yes
has
or
been
no? Did you lead an audit?
misrepresented
I will
from
take
top
that
to
as a
bottom.
no. What were the findings? So there were no findings because you've never led an audit. What guidance did you give the auditors? None, because you've never led an audit. Nobody expects you to be an accountant, Mr. Hexeth. What we expect is for you to understand the complexity of this Pentagon budget process that is absolutely necessary to outfit our warfighters. Mr. Hexeth, what is the highest level of international negotiations that you have engaged in, that you have led in? Because the Secretary of Defense does lead international security negotiations. There are three main ones that the Secretary of Defense leads and signs. Can you name at least one of them?
Could you repeat the question, Senator?
Sure. What is the highest level of international security agreement that you have led? And can you name some that the Secretary of Defense would lead? There's three main ones. Do you know?
I have not been involved in international security arrangements because I have not been in government other than serving in the military. So my job has been
So
to
no, the
lead
answer is
men
no.
and
Can you
women in
name one of the
combat.
three main ones that the
You're
Secretary
talking
of
about
Defense
defense
signs?
arrangements. I mean, NATO might be one that you're referring to.
Status of Forces Agreement would be one of them.
Status of Forces Agreement. I've been a part of teaching about Status of Forces Agreements.
But you don't
inside
remember to mention
Afghanistan.
it? You're not qualified, Mr. Hexeth. You're not qualified. You talk about repairing our defense industrial complex. You're not qualified to that. You could do acquisition and cross-servicing agreements, which essentially are security agreements. You can't even mention that. You've done none of those. You talked about the Indo-Pacific a little bit, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact
No, you
amount of
couldn't,
nations
because
in
you've
that,
not
but I
even
know we have
bothered to
allies
do-
in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, trying to work on submarines with them.
Mr.
and data
Hexeth,
transfers
none
with
of those
them.
countries
We
are
have
in
allies
ASEAN.
across.
None of those three countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations.
It's embarrassing, okay? It's embarrassing. Oh, man. You cheated on your wife. Oh, and these are propped up Christians in our country. And all of them are just a disgrace, right?
I want to return to the incident that you referenced a minute ago that occurred in Monterey, California in October 2017. At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
I believe so.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
Senator, I was falsely charged, fully investigated, and completely cleared.
So you think you were completely cleared because you committed no crime. That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I am shocked that you would stand here and say you're completely cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared? How is that a complete clear?
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she
I'm
was,
glad
and
she's here.
you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Wow.
Those were false charges.
Well,
It
no,
was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I'm so grateful for the marriage I have to this amazing woman behind me.
You've admitted that you had sex at that hotel in October 2017. You said it was consensual, isn't that correct?
Anything
You've admitted that it was consensual and you were still married and you just had a child by another woman.
Again,
How do you explain your
completely
judgment?
false charges against me.
You
Fully investigated, and I was completely clear.
You have admitted that you had sex while you were married to wife 2 after you just had fathered a child by wife 3.
Wife 3, fathered child, wife 2. Yeah, he admitted consensual, but now he's denying it. And how does that work? How does the lying of these people work for the American people? We should demand honesty, right? The truth, but we never did. So here we are. But wow, now, look at the 2 kids behind Pete Hegseth, who I believe are his sons, 13-year-old son, or one son. Okay. Look at their faces, look at their expressions. What do you see?
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with access to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled.
What do you see? I see a kid that is feeling like a little like, could you just stop? Could you please just stop? Can you imagine growing up in that home with Pete Hegseth? Could you imagine? White supremacist Christian nationalist. Same old, everything, right? Wow. So Laura Loomer, on her orders, Rubio announced the arrest of 2 women for supporting Iran. And guess what? They were not related to General Soleimani, who was assassinated by Trump. But yeah, turn over your green cards, you're arrested and deported. But they weren't even related to General Soleimani. And even if they were, this is wrong. This is not okay, right? It's just, are we losing so badly? We need to arrest the distant relatives of long since dead Iranian commanders. Well, guess what? Relatives of Soleimani have come out and said, no, they're not related to us. So Aaron Melnick of the American Immigration Council noted that the administration had used the same legal authority to arrest Soleimani's reported family members as it did to detain Columbia University student organizer Mahmoud Khalil and Tufts University scholar Ramisa Ozturk for speaking out against U.S. support for Israel, a tactic which is being challenged in court as unconstitutional. They both were released. They're doing the same thing. Laura Loomer. How is it that she wields so much power? I don't know. She's crazy. She's really crazy. But it just goes, maybe it's not so much power. Maybe it's just the crazies like to be, enmeshed with one another. But so apparently Loomer had exposed the fact that Soleimani's niece was living in the United States. You can't do that? Okay. In Iran on Saturday, media outlets were reporting that the two women arrested were not related to Soleimani, who had no nieces. Soleimani's daughter told the news outlet that none of her extended family has ever lived in the United States. They couldn't figure this out. All right. Nothing like, don't care, just I'm gonna make your life a living hell. All over the place, millions of people experiencing that. Absolute bombshell. Iranian TV broadcasts footage of a downed U.S. aircraft revealing shrapnel marks from Aryan air defenses, and suggested that Washington used the Hannibal Protocol to bomb their own surviving flight crew to prevent capture. Cover up unraveling.
بینندگان عزیز، خدا قوت خدمت همه دلیرمردان نیروهای مسلح جمهوری اسلامی ایران در ارتش، سپاه، بسیج و فرماندهی انتظامی. خدا قوت میگیم به همشون. در تصاویری که امروز از
In the images we saw today of the wreckage of the American
لاشه‌های هلیکوپترها و هواپیماهای آمریکایی دیدیم، یک تصویر خیلی توجه ما رو جلب کرد که همین هست. دقایقی پیش هواپیمای کل سپاه پاسداران
The IRG provided this image to the news show.
این تصویر در اختیار خبرگزاری صدا و سیما قرار داد. لاشه و جسد این لاشه یکی از هواگردها حالا مشخصا فعلا نمیتونیم تشخیص بدیم.
We cannot correctly identify which specific aircraft, but clearly this is the body of, one of the jets or.
کدوم هواگرد؟ اما مشخصا جسد یکی از کادر فنی یا خلبانان پروازی امریکایی است و اینجا در این تصویر.
Okay, so he's gone through, this is the helicopter blade. But a couple of days ago, it was an Iranian publication, and I read this article. There's no way to verify, but a government official, I think the president or foreign minister came out and said, the Americans will bomb the pilots. Maybe blame it on us, but apparently a magnificent rescue by the United States. You cannot believe a word of what we say. Okay. Just want to see. Okay, so Trump-Vance administration dropped a bombshell on America's enemies, announced that no more taxpayer dollars for hostile nations that hate America. That's pretty much the world now. And what are you going to do with those tax dollars? What are you going to do? Are you going to help the American people? Or are you going to put it in your pocket? Any vote against the United States at the United Nations, anyone who chants death to America or fund anti-American NGOs, you're cut off, period.
The president views the last.
I mean, there's a lot to not like about this fabulous country of ours.
40 years is an era of which American workers and American farmers have been ripped off. They've been ripped off, and what he's saying is we want to have a trade with the world, but it has to be a trade in which American businesses and American workers and the products they make and what American farmers grow and produce has a fair shot to be sold around the world. On issue after issue, that's been the case. You talk about foreign aid reforms.
This is not our money. This is taxpayer money.
Oh, you acknowledge that. How sweet of you, you little boy, Rubio. Let's just say the trickle down theory is just a theory and nothing is going to trickle down. But really, is he talking about European nations? Oh, because they've been hostile to Trump. No, we're not going to be helping you, open the Strait of Hormuz, by force. Oh, hostile. Confirmed F-15 weapons systems officer rescued after a massive firefight with the Iranian Republic military. No, we got him. That's what Trump said. We got him. My fellow Americans, over the past several hours, the United States military pulled off one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history for one of our incredible crew member officers, who also happens to be a highly respected colonel and who I am thrilled to let you know is now safe and sound. Oh my God. Oh, so at my direction, the U.S. military sent dozens of aircraft armed with the most lethal weapons in the world to retrieve him. The miraculous search and rescue operation comes in addition to a successful rescue of another brave pilot, which we did not confirm. U.S. Okay, just blah, 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 right? The fact that we were able to pull off both of these operations without a single American killed or even wounded just proves once again that we have achieved overwhelming air dominance superiority over the Iranian skies, and it's not true. It's not true. And yeah, there's rumors going around that there was a massive firefight between our soldiers and Iranian soldiers. Well, Iran denies reports of U.S. ground clashes in western Iran. And Iran thwarts U.S. rescue mission and downs multiple aircraft that I guess were part of the rescue mission. Rescue a downed pilot, destroying several aircraft, including a Black Hawk copter and a military transport plane. Coordinated operation. The incident followed desperate efforts by the U.S. forces to infiltrate central Iran and extract the pilot. Described, the operation was described, the outcome, as another humiliating defeat for the United States. You see, I don't believe our government at all. No one. No one. And, well, yeah, I'll put my trust in Iranians. Trump's premature claim about air supremacy and obliterated Iranian air defense. Again, he's making those claims, and it's just not true. U.S. Air Force had a difficult day on Friday. An F-15E was shot down in southwestern Iran. Pilot rescued. A-10C Thunderbolt II shot down, crashed into the Persian Gulf. Pilot reportedly recovered. 2X HH-60G Pave Hawk hit during the mission. One crash landed across the border in Iraq. Reportedly rescued, we don't know. KC-135R Stratotanker emergency squawk near Tel Aviv, F-16CJ Wild Weasel, another emergency squawk over Saudi Arabia near the Iraqi border, later disappeared from flight radar. KC-135R Stratotanker emergency squawk. So the squawking, I believe, are the pilots. Yeah, emergency. Iran appears to be relying on Vietnam-style guerrilla tactics. And this is Larry Johnson's site, former CIA and, well, I think you'll recognize Larry Johnson, who has certainly on Judge Napolitano's show, interviewed quite often. Vietnam-style guerrilla tactics of shoot and scoot, air defense, with their passive and highly technical indigenous system. So the IRSA-7s, these are some, why is this written so poorly? They're specially developed missiles that can loiter at altitude, almost like a glider, completely passive, that lie in wait for one of the U.S. older generation fighters, tankers, or support aircraft to wander too close and then hone in while the U.S. can claim air supremacy. This does not mean that the U.S. aircraft can fly over Iran without incurring the risk, which means you don't have dominance. And yeah, Scott Ritter, everybody is saying United States has lost already. And what Trump is saying, what Hegseth is saying, is abject bullshit.
We don't have control over the sky. See, we did everything long distance. And we're out of cruise missiles. We're out of the joint standoff weapons. Now we have to go in. And as we go in, we're finding out that the Iranian air defense is very much active. They're shooting down our drones. They hit an F-35. They're causing other planes to break off. We don't have control of the skies that he's implying. We don't know what we're bombing. He has no clue what he's talking about. He's sitting there playing a peacetime war game in his head, forgetting that the people who are executing this war plan, there is no war plan. Everything we're doing today was not pre-planned, ladies and gentlemen. There is no war plan. We are making it up as we go along. So McKenzie, go to hell. Really. No one should put that man on TV anymore, because what good is he? He's not telling the truth. He's implying that this is a plan. There is no plan, McKenzie, and you know there is no plan, because the plan you executed, which I know intimately, didn't involve us waiting 3 weeks to start putting forces in. We would have gone in on day one, blowing the crap out of the shore defenses, pushing in, seizing territory, pushing in further. But you don't take a MEU and push in too far. If you know anything about Marine expeditionary units, the first MEU will come in and seize the initial objective. Then another one has to come in behind it. But normally you have to park 2 more. So you need 3, that's a brigade. You need another brigade to come in and push more inland. So now you're talking about a division's worth of troops. We don't have that. We have 2 MEUs. You think they're going to do what? Push in? They're not pushing in. They're going to die. And what, you're going to bring in paratroopers? God bless the airborne. But you know what? They'll just jump in and die. Think Arnhem. Think 1st British Airborne Division. That's what will happen to any paratroopers going. Rangers, they will die. Delta Force, let me, guys, give you just a little brief secret about Delta Force in Desert Storm. They were put into Western Iraq. Every single insertion was detected as it happened. They were compromised. They didn't spend, this wasn't Delta Force stealthing around. They were running for their lives from day one. They ran, they were running, fleeing. Brave guys, I'm not putting them down. But to think that we're sitting there, you're going to go into Iran and we're going to control anything, we will control nothing. Nothing, because there's no plan. What makes a military unit professional isn't just the training of the troops and the quality of the leadership, it's the quality of the plan. And the plan involves logistics,
I'll post the link if you want to watch more. I never knew so much about military strategy like I do now, but I feel sorry for the people who believe, all of the horseshit that comes out of Hegseth, that Trump, Rubio, all of them. And, that's all they want. They don't care about us, for sure. I mean, but look at this. The exact moment when the Iranian missiles entered up the tuchus of the Yankee F-15. This is amazing. How do they, well, the jet is releasing, I guess, some munition or something, but how do they do that? How do they do that? Maybe it's AI. I don't know, but I've seen others, Black Hawks being shot down, and they're like tracked. What did you know, Rods? Iran is piercing Israel's ballistic missile defenses with high-altitude cluster warhead releases. So all of the videos that I've been showing, and some have questioned, what are they? Is this AI? No, they shoot off one missile, and then it opens up, and you get and a whole lot of Israelis are screaming, this is in violation of international law, and no one is going to say anything, okay? The world watched for 2.5 years, still ongoing, your slaughter of the Palestinians. They watched with horror the disgusting videos the IDF was posting. They listened to so many Israelis who said, kill them all. I don't care about the children, kill them. Children become terrorists. And you now expect the world to care. That is really remarkable. You violated international law. You violate moral codes up the wazoo. And now, of course, it's not all Israelis. In fact, there's a whole lot who I think are just so done with their Zionist government. They're out on the streets and they're fighting the police and they're just not wanting, the war, and there's been Israelis who actually had the courage to hold up, a whole lot of them, a strip of, these Israelis, I think women, holding up pictures of Palestinian children who were murdered. You have to have a lot of courage to go against what's going on in Israel. And boy, mucho respect for them. So it's not all Jews, it's not all Israelis, but these Israelis who come out, and I see them, they're posting on Twitter, and the world is silent. Of course. Yes, it is. And in fact, I think a whole lot are quite happy because, well, they're seeing, I guess, some justice take place. And okay, we've bombed now very near the Bushehr nuclear plant. One person is dead. Russia evacuated all of their employees working there. And the IAEA sounds alarm on these strikes, and well, this is, you want to talk catastrophe? The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency Saturday demanded maximum military restraint from the United States and Israel as it confirmed reports that strikes had targeted a location right near the Bushehr nuclear power plant. We don't care about anything. United States and Israel. So don't expect, people in other nations to care about us. And this guy, man, wow. All right, I'm not even going to, he's I'll play it. I never thought it would get this bad in our country. I knew for a whole lot of decades that there was something very wrong with this country, with the USA. Oh, we're exceptional. We're morally superior. Not, okay? But I never thought that it would get to this point where we have a sitting president who posts on Truth Social. Well, I don't know if you saw this, probably did. And Jake Tapper, who I can't stand, but he reads Truth Social post.
No longer, he has just threatened Iran in extraordinary graphic terms, giving the Iranian regime just over a day to either make a deal, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or face hell. If your children are watching, be warned, the president did not use polite language. Quote, Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. We should note that destroying civilian power infrastructure is generally considered to constitute a war crime under international law, though the president could argue that the infrastructure has dual use and also is utilized by Iran's military. Let's get right to no longer. He has just threatened Iran.
Oh, but there's a little part that you failed to mention. Where is it? Oh my God, this guy, woof. Well, he did say many of Iran's military leaders who have led them poorly and unwisely are terminated. I read somewhere that a U.S. strike had killed 50 top leaders in Iran. I have not been able to confirm that, and I don't believe it, but I think his terminated is dead. Who have led them poorly and unwisely? It reminds me of Pete Hegseth. But everything is projection. It's really quite stunning. Everything that this guy Donald says is a projection of what we are doing, not Iran. So, okay, that little part, okay. Open up the effing strait, you crazy bastards. And I did hear that there were, I think somebody either from the UK or Australia talking about how Trump is just a thug. And this kind of language is like, let's just say not very diplomatic. Praise be to Allah. On Easter, this is what he writes. So the antithesis of Christ, right? And he ends it with praise be to Allah. On Easter Day, praise be to Allah. Okay. Well, man, I wish that there could be discussion. I could hear other voices. I don't, but praise be to Allah. What do you make of that? What could you make of it? I mean, Trump extends deadline again. So his 48-hour deadline, and if you don't make a deal, then we're just going to have to blow everything up, is what he said in an interview. We'll just have to blow everything up. And now he's extended. Well, okay, fine. Tuesday, 8 p.m. That's the deadline. They don't give a shit. They do not care. The Iranians, they actually operate on principle. They're not thugs, and they have a moral code, unlike our, let's call him President Thug. Trump posts video claims Iranian military leadership just went up in smoke. This is so like, I feel like I'm trapped in my family. I can't get out of my family. I so desperately wanted healthy relationships and, honest people in my life. I'm trapped in my family, the malignant, narcissistic family. Constantly, it's like you're just, this guy, all he does is really abuse the world and Americans. And everybody should be really upset about this. Okay, praise be to Allah. What do you guys think about this? What? And he never went to church, to get that wine and the that cracker, and well, what he thinks is asking for forgiveness. No, today he drove around in the Beast. Drove around in Washington, slow. It was a slow drive. And then he went to his golf course. And this one too. And we have the most evil people.
The president posted this morning about his threat that on leaving Iran, he said we might blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, Park Island, and possibly all desalinization plants. Under international law, striking civilian infrastructure like that is generally prohibited. Why is the president threatening what would amount to potentially a war crime with the U.S. military? And how do you square that with the administration repeatedly saying that the U.S. does not target civilians?
Look, the president has made it quite clear to the Iranian regime at this moment in time, as evidenced by the statement that you just read, that their best move is to make a deal, or else the United States Armed Forces has capabilities beyond their wildest imagination, and the president is not afraid to use them. That's not what I said, Garrett. And you're saying the word potential for a reason, because I'm sure some experts are telling you that in your ear to try to ask me that question. Of course, this administration and the United States Armed Forces will always act within the confines of the law.
They never do. They never do. Can you imagine this thing being your mother? Now I can, because but the regular people out there. Can you imagine these people? Oh my God. Oof. Wow. We violate international law all the time. We never operate in the confines of law. We don't. Americans, stand up. Do something, scream, I don't know. Man, these people, they're all criminals. They're all walking a very low road. A very low road. Iran warns United Nations, IAEA, of grave radiological risk from these strikes on their nuclear facilities. This is not within the confines of law. Not at all. No strikes in particular. And yeah, according to Israeli sources, the Bushehr nuclear reactor in Iran was placed on a target list of the IDF after the end of Trump's ultimatum. Well, it's been going on. So Russia has evacuated all the workers. Radioactive pollution, Persian Gulf, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia will be exposed. So yeah, you're seeing behavior that should really alarm everybody. But we're also seeing that criminal, sadistic behavior against a country, but we're seeing it against Americans. Many Americans, every day, more and more suffering because of what Trump is doing. And I'm sorry to say, anyone supporting him, wow, you have something very wrong with you. Donald Trump posted today. He has a 96% approval rating. Oh, he posted this yesterday. I'm sorry. Donald Trump himself. Oh my God. Wow. This is pretty intense. 96% approval. He makes shit up. And how about, where is it? I think this was for tariffs. 91% approval of the tariffs. Okay. Really hard to digest this. Very hard. Oh, and thank you to my subscriber who sent this along. Satellite company halts distribution of images that help the press cover Iran war. Cites U.S. government request. The policy reduces one of the few available tools news organizations use to verify strikes, assess damage, track military developments. Gee, I wonder why. If we're doing so fabulously, they wouldn't need to halt distribution of images. Yeah. And here, he also said that he admits sending guns to the protesters in Iran. No, it wasn't 30,000 that the Iranian government killed. 3,000 plus. And it, Mossad and CIA, woof, working it.
Now, the president also provided new details on what happened earlier this year as the Iranian regime took to the streets and slaughtered what the president tells me is 45,000 civilians in their own country. After that took place, President Trump told me the United States sent guns to the Iranian protesters. He tells me we sent them a lot of guns. We sent them to the Kurds, and the president says he thinks the Kurds kept them. He went on to say we sent guns to the protesters, a lot of them. And so a number of headlines here from my conversation with President Trump. Now, the president also provided new details.
I can't. There's only so much horrific things that I can see, but yeah, an Israeli woman who had a dog wanted to get into a shelter, and this guy didn't want the dog in there. And good, okay? And then he kicks the dog. I have to say, the Israelis, a whole majority of them, behave very similarly to Americans. Not all, but yeah. Istanbul. The world is protesting this war, and yeah, it's unfortunate, Americans, but the world wants Iran to win. Not us, not Israel. And an Israeli drone factory in Tel Aviv was completely destroyed after being directly hit by an Iranian missile, and it can't operate again. So these missiles are getting through that Iron Dome, and their interceptors, well, they might intercept some, but a whole lot are just not being intercepted. And from what I can see, Israel, another, which really upsets me when I see particular areas being hit, like Haifa, who I know my subscriber has a son who lives in Haifa. And, well, okay, Iran's winning. And Trump doesn't like that. And they're leaving Trump in a bad position. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? How do I get out of this? I can't just stop. I guess I'm going to have to do a false flag, kill a lot of Americans, claim that it was Iran, and then go for it. Major disaster in Haifa. So this is why I always want to hear from that subscriber, first of all, to confirm what's going on. But if you're seeing this, please let me know that your family is okay. And here, all right, ballistic missile strike in Haifa. A lot of strikes. So, all right, guys. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I really never thought that we would get this low. I really didn't. And everybody was, all my friends would say, oh God, here comes Kara. She's so serious. She's so dark. She's so this. She's so. When I actually just wanted to have a conversation about what was happening in our country. Okay. I just didn't see it going very well for us. That's what made me dark. So, Trump has really brought it to a whole new level. And my God, Americans, do something to protect your own self, because we have an awful lot of scenarios that could take place. False flag, a lot of Americans dead. An uprising, and suddenly emergency powers and the cancellation of elections. I mean, Trump could do virtually anything. That's the scary part. He knows that he could do anything because we're not doing anything. So, and considering how many people are really hurting in your communities, I really hope that you're out there doing something to manifest some goodness against what has become very dark and, evil. We have to manifest the goodness and remember the food banks and the animal shelters. And my God, the need is just becoming overwhelming. But we have enough people in our communities, we have enough people in this country that if they would just do a whole lot of that need could be met. It's up to you. Thank you for showing up. I hope to see you tomorrow. Good night, good luck, and ciao. Stay safe as well.